How are you watching China's CGBs?
So that's a really interesting one, right? So I think if you have a look at bond markets, there's all markets, and then you compare the Chinese market, and the yields have gone completely south. They've absolutely cratered. We think that Chinese yields, where they are at the moment, are probably a bit rich, and I think there was an acknowledgement from the PBOC as well that levels have probably gone too far, and that's why they've halted their purchases of late. But I think if you actually look at it from a fundamental perspective, where 10-year yields are at 1.6, historically what you see is you see bond yields mirroring nominal growth. So we've had Chinese officials tell us that nominal growth is going to be around 5%. So if that's the case, what are yields doing at 1.6, 1.5%? Essentially, that narrative of, an economic crash, that's been percolating for quite some time. I don't think that that's gone. But essentially, where 10-year yields are now, I think you need PMIs in the 30s, and we're just not there yet. We think the markets have gone too far. We probably think that we're in a consolidation phase for CGBs.
Something I've been looking at very closely is this China 10-year versus the JGB as well, and how there had been some suggestion that the phenomenon we've seen in the sort of longer-dated 30-year, which is now lower than the JGBs for the first time on record, that we could see that playing out in the 10-year. I mean, after the PBOC came out over the course of last week and suggested that it would sort of be temporarily halting its bond buying activities, we did see that 10-year actually tick up. But, I mean, without sort of putting the floor under that, I think, right now we're only about 40 bips away from the JGB. So how are you watching that? I mean, it's particularly given all this talk out there of the risk of the Japanification, which is something that China, as far as the labelling is concerned, absolutely loathes.
Sure. I mean, this is something that's really capturing a lot of attention now. But, back in October when we were visiting clients back then, we actually brought them, highlighted to them the JGB 40-year and the Chinese 40-year. And at that time, the JGB 40-year had gone above the China 40-year. And now it's moved to the 30-year point of the curve. And I think the risk is, as time goes along, it's going to move to the 10-year point of the curve. We're not there yet, but China's got a lot of challenges, particularly on the demographics front, and people just don't want to spend after their wealth has been obliterated via the property market. So we just got to wait for the Chinese officials to actually do something on consumption and stimulus.